All right, so now we're moving on to Age of Wushu Dynasty. I have to say, when I played the beta for this game just a couple of years ago, I would have never thought that one of the most innovative sandbox MMOs we'd ever seen would be on mobile in 2015. That's madness. Can you give us an introduction on just how much of the features you're maintaining on the mobile version and just, I don't know, just a general overview, because I'm in the dark here and pretty excited about what you've done.
Well, we're pretty excited about it too. So Age of Wushu Dynasty, which is the mobile version of Age of Wushu, is basically a combination of a lot of the mobile mechanics that we've developed in our previous titles like Taichi Panda that have been adapted with the design concepts of Age of Wushu to create a different game, but it also carries with it a lot of the same principles and ideas that made Age of Wushu so exciting. So one of the things that obviously people know or remember from that game was there was sort of a classless character system where you could choose different martial arts schools to join. You could learn different skills from different skill manuals that you'd acquire throughout the world. And then as opposed to being a class where I'm a tank or I'm a DPS, you just had your character. Your character could change depending on what you wanted to do, whether they wanted to use more high damage or more high sustainability or ranged or close-up type attacks, and that's a mechanic that's still kept in the game here. There's also things like school competition. Actually, people can steal manuals from each other's schools. There's guild competition. There's open world PvP. There's all kinds of things that were what we originally had in Age of Wushu that have just been adapted to fit the mobile platform. So we can just jump right in. Right now, this game is currently in beta testing in China, so obviously everything's still in Chinese. But basically, there are 3 schools currently available. There ultimately will be all the same 8 schools that were available at the original release of Age of Wushu. And as time goes on, we expect it will continue to develop much like Age of Wushu, with new factions and groups joining the conflict. Currently, Jonathan's playing as the Wudang, which is a swordsman type class. So you can see this was the part where it kind of looks a lot more like our previous dungeon crawler title, Taichi Panda. So we've got virtual controls moving around. He's got jumping, flying skills. He's got a couple different skills that he can use with his right hand. But what makes this really interesting and is using the same basic mechanic as the original Age of Wushu is this rock, paper, scissors type combat. So he has a couple of basic skills. Each one has their own different effects. He also has then a parry ability, where if he puts that up, it'll block damage. And if he can successfully land a parry, it'll then automatically do a response attack, like a parry move. And then if someone is trying to block your attack, there is a parry break ability that will break their parry. And so there's also then health and mana, and when you fight a boss or when you fight in PvP, there's also then a kind of defensive bar that you have to break down in order to make them susceptible to knockdowns and flying type of effects on their character.
So are you guys doing more of the arena going into a scenario match setup for this, or is it still going to be the more open world setup that Age of Wushu has?
So it's a hybrid of the two. So there's a lot of different places in the open world that you can explore, and much of the single player mechanics of it in terms of doing plot missions will take you throughout this world, and you have to talk to different NPCs. But when you then go into a mission, like we're doing right now, or this is just a level, an instance, it is its own thing. There's no one else in this area. He just jumped into it. There's a boss. There's kind of a more structured level design. So it's more designed for the mobile platform, where these levels only take about 2-3 minutes to complete, but there's a lot of them. And so you kind of play through those. You're trying to beat them as effectively as possible. Depending on how fast you complete them, you get 1, 2, or 3 stars, and that dictates how much experience and what kind of rewards you get, stuff like that.
Beyond that, are you going to run into people in the open world, or can you choose to play solo on this?
Yeah, so there is also going to be a large part of open world and also structured PvP in this game, just the same as Age of Wushu. So there is the option to kind of navigate the world safely. Not everybody will always be attacking you, but there are also functions like Jianghu mode, which is essentially where anybody and anybody can fight each other. There are safe zones within the open world that you can go to and nobody can attack you, but there's also a lot of things. For example, one thing that was in the original Age of Wushu, when you're offline, your character will appear as an NPC somewhere, and you can then be kidnapped and sold on the black market. And that has consequences both for the kidnapper and the kidnappee. So obviously, you'll then, when you log in, you'll have to deal with something and get out of that. Likewise, they could possibly get caught by the authorities. There is PvP jail. So if you get blacklisted as somebody who's always attacking everybody else, you can then get sent to jail. There's all kinds of things like that are inspired in many ways from the original Age of Wushu. So we can see now, oops, is he still jumping? Okay, are you jumping from one mission to another?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, anyway, that's fine. We can't show right now, but we can show you guys on one of the devices out there, maybe a little bit the home menu, because some of these versions don't actually allow that. So this one must be an older version, because we had them set up for the show. But anyway, yeah. So the home city, currently there are 3 regions of China that are open. Each region having anywhere from 4 to 12 cities that you can travel between. And that is, you can either manually move throughout them, or you can auto path and then just navigate them. And while you're out in that open world, there will be other players doing similar missions where they have to go to talk to NPCs, much like a typical MMO. But we cut out a lot of the open space by making it discrete cities that are only a certain size, and each one has their own unique style that is drawn from real inspirations in traditional Chinese martial arts. So, like I said before, there's 3 classes available of the 8 that will ultimately be available, much like the original Age of Wushu, and each one has their own style. So the Wudang are kind of more of a noble, they live in the mountains, and they're Taoist people, whereas the Wudang are kind of they have poison, and they use poison darts as a ranged ability, is their skill class. So those will have very distinct art styles and distinct environments in each of their cities. And there's a lot of open environments that also people will be mutually traveling throughout.
Fantastic. All right. So what is brand new in terms of mobile, such as things that you've picked up learning from your Taichi Panda experience?
I'd say the biggest thing would be just the actual combat mechanic, in that it's more of, rather than being a 3D controlled, like a full 3D environment where you control the camera like you would on a PC with a mouse and keyboard, we realized that wasn't really practical for the mobile, so we decided to adapt it to fit sort of the Taichi Panda engine. And actually all of these games use the same graphics engine. Taichi Panda, the original Age of Wushu, and this game all use the Flexi engine, which we developed for Age of Wushu. So it wasn't a huge leap just to kind of adapt that combat mechanic with different art, and then also some new things like the blocking and the parry breaking to make a nice little hybrid that takes the best of Age of Wushu's combat and then makes it fit for mobile.
And the controls is all done with the reactive system that you have, where it doesn't matter where your thumb touches, it'll kind of smartly pick it up?
Yeah, so generally, also he's using buttons.
Oh, right.
So
now I see it.
That helps, but yeah, so generally if you hit anywhere on the virtual button, it's smart enough to know that you're trying to do that. But then also, and that also ties into the button mapping, is that if you put a button mapping, you can put it on a very small discrete point, which will show, hopefully if you can get away from people at some point, we can show a little bit of the button mapping. You can put specifically, I want, the red, the moon button to be my X skill, or my, the right bumper to be my jump. You can specifically design that by putting it on the different parts of the map. So after he beats this boss, hopefully we can take a look at that.
And what is the max number of people you can bring into an instance with you?
Well, this is the single-player version, so right now he's just doing it by himself. This is more of like if you were to do any kind of typical mission, this would send you into these different levels. But there are also multiplayer forbidden instances, which I believe you can have up to 5 people at the moment. But then also at the same time, when you're out in the open world, you can have pretty much as many people as are in a given place on the screen at the same time. If you're in Suzhou, which is one of the main cities, and there's other people in Suzhou, you'll see them, and that's how you can interact with them. You can either challenge them to duels, maybe if they don't like you, they can just turn on Jianghu mode and attack you, or you can even send little chats and add people as friends and stuff like that.
It's probably a little bit too early to talk about Western betas at this point.
Well, we have plans to have something available in North America by Q4 of this year. So
It looked like you have the juggling system there that Taichi Panda uses.
Exactly, yeah. So that's the defensive bar, and one of the things that's kind of cool about how that plays in with this combat mechanic is that, for example, if you block their attack with your parry, it'll reduce their defensive bar. And likewise, if you if you break their parry with your parry break ability, that also reduces their defensive bar. And once their defensive bar is to 0, that will then allow you to juggle them. And that's the same thing in PvP. Both sides will have that. Uh-oh, he's getting chased by a monster. I wish there was some way we could get out of this. But yeah, so this is, you can see while he's getting attacked, this is the button mapping a little bit, if we can get away. We might have to show it. We might have to show it in Taichi Panda, because right now it's just jumping from instance to instance. So we'll talk about the button mapping later. But anyway, yeah. So that's Age of Wushu Dynasty.
Thanks for your time on this.
Yeah, thank you.